This is music, and this is another batch of songs from the Pukebox. Welcome to another episode of songs from the Pukebox. It is just a what's spinning series with a terrible title, I know, but in these videos, I just show you and I talk about some of the music I've been listening to over the last week or so. This time I have a handful, a little bit more than a handful of CDs. Up first, this one here, Sabotage by Black Sabbath. I decided to go back and revisit this classic, which has some awesome songs on it. Starts out with Hole in the Sky, one of my favorite Black Sabbath songs, very groovy song. You got Symptom of the Universe, another favorite song of mine by Black Sabbath. Great stuff. You have so many cool things on here. Even the kind of the filler material, I think is pretty damn cool. So this one is definitely worth checking out if you don't know Black Sabbath that well and you want to, go back and explore them. I also decided to, just because it was right next to it, to give this one a listen. Black Sabbath Volume 4. I don't listen to this one as often as Sabotage. I know a lot of people like this one. I think it's pretty good too, but it's not my go-to Black Sabbath album. Does have some really cool songs on it for sure, no doubt about that, but I don't think it's as strong as uh, a lot of their previous albums. But I like this one and I do enjoy listening to it every now and then. So two kind of classics there. Now this one here, Communic, and it's called Conspiracy in Mind. So this is not an album I listen to a whole lot. It's progressive metal. I really like it, but I just don't reach for it that often. But when I do, I enjoy it. Progressive metal. It's definitely got a lot of interesting things going on. A lot of really cool riffs, and some of them are even like heavier and more groovy than you might expect. And the songs are relatively long and complex in structure, but it's not like mind-bendingly complex progressive metal. So it's actually quite accessible. I really like the vocals on here, but all the songs I think are good. And if you want some solid progressive metal, Communic is a band that is definitely worth checking out. And more progressive metal. This one here, Awaken the Guardian by Fate's Warning. This is a 3 CD set, but I only listened to the album proper. This is an amazing album. Such a heavy guitar tone, really crushingly heavy guitar tone. And then you got John Arch's vocals, really complex vocal melodies, and the guy, had an amazing voice, and he still does actually, and could do some crazy acrobatics. So this is really really awesome stuff. You got all the songs on here are fantastic. A challenging listen to be sure. You got odd time signatures, really heavy guitar riffs. Like I said, complex vocals, and John Arch sings at a pretty high register. But this one here is a progressive metal classic for a reason, uh, and that reason is it's a freaking masterpiece. So there you go. I enjoy listening to this one, and I listen to it quite often. Up next, we got this one here, FS, which stands for um, Fire Strike, and it's called Deadly Voltage. And this is a dive bomb release, and there's a hype sticker that says, well, that's just a standard hype sticker actually, cult fans for cult fans. Um, awesome artwork here. So this to me is this traditional heavy metal with a strong leaning towards US power metal, and there are even some quite thrashy elements on here. So this one is actually really, really good, and it's definitely worth picking up if you want some straight up metal with thrashy oomph and a US power metal oomph. Um, the guitar tone might be a bit off-putting to maybe listeners who are used to the kind of more processed guitar tones that are used in modern metal nowadays. Um, but I quite like the guitar tone on here. It may sound a little bit thin, but it still actually has quite a lot of power to it. So I think this is actually a really, really good release, worth checking out for sure. Uh, Up next, kind of a change of style here. Motley Crue, Shout at the Devil. Um, Motley Crue, of course, a legendary glam metal band, but their first couple of albums were more like basically like heavy metal, but then they just had kind of the glam image. And yeah, this one is a metal album with glam metal leanings, if that makes any sense. And the songs on here are actually, I think they're really good, most of them. Um, Vince Neil sounds pretty good in this album too, and it's just a good listen. My favorite Motley Crue album, however, is a little bit controversial. We'll get to that. But my favorite Motley Crue album with Vince Neil, and I guess I've already spoiled that now, is actually not this one, but Dr. Feelgood. But this one has so many great and catchy songs and the great guitar riffs too. Um, the version I have here has Helter Skelter on it, and they actually make that work really well. Now, as you may have guessed, this is my favorite Motley Crue album, self-titled. This one was right next to um, Shout at the Devil, so I figured, hey, I want to listen to this one too. Now, this is really heavy for a Motley Crue album. It's really groovy as well, and it's more of an alternative metal album, if I'm being honest, and it doesn't really sound like Motley Crue, and that's probably why a lot of people did not like it. Another reason why not a lot of people did not like it is that they have John Corabi on vocals on this one, and he's a completely different singer. He has a harsher, not like growling, but like harsher voice, and more gravelly voice, more kind of dirty rock and roll voice. And I have to be honest, this is my favorite Motley Crue album because it's so heavy and because it's so groovy and because it has uh, a vocal style that appeals much more to me than Vince Neil does. Uh, I always come off sounding like I hate Vince Neil. That's not the case. He does a good job on those, early Motley Crue albums leading up until this one. On the albums after this one, where he returned, that's a different story to me. But this right here, I think is great. Maybe it should have been released under a different name. I don't know. But it is called Motley Crue, and the band is called Motley Crue, and maybe there's a message to that. I think it's a shame they didn't continue down this road because I think it would have been really interesting to hear them do more of this style of music, like heavy, groovy metal with alternative leanings. And you still have like, Mick Mars, composing the guitar riffs and all that stuff. So it's not like what they're doing now with I don't even remember his name, a different guitarist, and it kind of seems a little bit off, if you know what I mean. This one doesn't have that kind of vibe to me. You know, doesn't really sound like a Motley Crue album, but to me, this would have been the first step in the next phase in the evolution of Motley Crue, if that makes any sense at all. Great album, deserves more attention, deserves an official reissue on vinyl as well. I don't think it has that. Although, it's been officially reissued on CD. I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, there you go. Good stack of songs from the Pukebox. Good stuff, all of it, in my opinion. Thanks for watching.